What's up with y'all, man? Back with another video. You know what I'm saying? If my eyes are a little red, I don't take no drugs or nothing. My eyes just, allergies and shit. You know what I'm saying? A lot of pollen outside. But I'm not sick, no. I'm good. I'm good with me. But basically, we got football star use ChatGPT to try and cover up girlfriend's murder, bro. By a long crime network, man.
We have shocking new details in the case of the former first-round NFL draft pick, now an accused killer. For the first time, a courtroom heard what Darren Lee told police when they arrived at his home after he allegedly killed his girlfriend, claiming he had no idea what happened. But then came the bombshell. What prosecutors say he asked ChatGPT after the murder and before he called 911. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart.
Damn.
Hey guys, real quick, I want to tell you about this app that you're going to love. To verify the night of back to get an extra Jets. He signed a deal that was for 4 years and it was worth. NFL Jets selected bonus on every gallon on your first tank of gas. When the New York Jets selected Darren Lee in the first round of the 2016 NFL draft, he signed a deal that was for 4 years and it was worth roughly $10 million. But this is Lee now. After one of his recent court appearances, this video per WBNS television, he's shackled, he's in a jail jumpsuit, and he is currently being held without bond. Lee is accused of killing his fiancée on February 5th inside their home near Chattanooga, Tennessee. Her name was Gabriella Perpetuo. She was just 29 years old. Her obituary shows pictures of her working as a nurse and spending time with family and friends. Her family has filed a civil wrongful death lawsuit against Lee, seeking $50 million. And that lawsuit is shedding some light on what...
Now, mind you, he only makes $10 million, or when he was in the NFL. Now, mind you, too, he could be facing the rest of his life in prison and has to pay up to $50 million.
They believe happened inside the home where she lost her life. Now, before we talk about that lawsuit, I need to break down what we just learned about what Lee reportedly said to law enforcement on that day in February that they responded to his home.
CPR in progress. Snow Cone Way. Snow Cone Way off Snowy Owl. I'm 29-year-old female.
This is a picture of the body cam footage that was played at Lee's preliminary hearing in Hamilton County, Tennessee, per WTVC television. Now, you can see in this picture, Lee is speaking to a first responder, still wearing some NFL gear on his front patio. Now, Lee was the one who called 911, and he told law enforcement he had no idea what happened to Gabriella. Prosecutors played roughly 10 minutes of the body cam video in court. And according to WTVC, Lee is heard on that body camera saying, quote, "She wasn't saying anything. And that's when I called 911 immediately. And I was like, what's going on?" But then prosecutors unveiled what they say are dozens of messages that Lee had sent to ChatGPT. And they argue those messages are proof that he knew exactly what happened to Gabriella and that he is allegedly the one who did it. Now, before we get to the ChatGPT part of this, we need to talk about the fall from grace that Darren Lee has had. Frankly, saying fall from grace, it's an understatement considering everything that this guy had going for him for most of his life. Lee was a standout college athlete, played linebacker at Ohio State, and in 2015, he was the defensive MVP of the Sugar Bowl when the Buckeyes beat Alabama. He had 7 tackles in that game, 3 for a loss, and 2 sacks. Now, even if you don't know football, those are monster numbers. And that game, it's one of the great games the Buckeyes have played in the last 20 years because they went on to win the national championship that year. And then in the spring, Lee cashed in big time financially because he signed a contract for more money than most people see in a lifetime. He was the 20th overall pick in the NFL draft by the New York Jets. So Lee goes and plays in the biggest media market. He's a millionaire, but the pros did not go as well as his college career did. He only lasted a couple years in New York. Some might label him a bust. He did bounce around for a few more years, including a stint with the Chiefs in 2019, where he actually won a Super Bowl. He also played for the Raiders and the Bills. Now, even though he didn't go on to have a Hall of Fame NFL career, let's be honest, from a financial standpoint, he should be in a good place. He made more than $10 million. His last season, though, was in 2021, and attorneys for Gabriella's family have reportedly said that Lee hasn't worked for the past 5 years. Now, even though he may have been...
That's so, like, crazy, bro. Like, you can literally make it to the NFL for, like, even if you don't even play, just make it to the NFL, get a contract, and you can live without having to work a job for 5 years, bro.
Comfortable from a financial...
And you'll be comfortable, too.
...standpoint. Lee is also someone who has had issues with the law and issues with domestic violence long before this murder case. For example, in 2023, he was arrested in Franklin County, Ohio on a charge of domestic violence knowingly causing physical harm. He eventually pleaded guilty to an assault charge in that case, and a no contact order was issued. And in that case, according to local media reports, Lee was accused of punching a woman in the face multiple times. Now, at this most recent hearing this week in Tennessee, where he is facing this murder charge, prosecutors reportedly said that Lee is actually on probation as we speak, related to a case out of Florida where he was charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. So now you know a little bit more about him. You can see he is someone who certainly had every opportunity, but at the same time has a troubled past when it comes to domestic violence in the legal system. With all that said, let's go to February 5th and what prosecutors say happened to Gabriella inside this home in Hamilton County, Tennessee. Now, when law enforcement arrived, it was around 1:30 in the afternoon. Law enforcement say that they spoke with Lee, and he told them, reportedly, he had no idea what happened to Gabriella, even though she had some very significant injuries that we're going to talk about in just a moment. And it's also important to note that he said that he called 911 immediately. Prosecutors later say that he did shed some light on what potentially happened to Gabriella, claiming that she fell through a glass shower door. But police say that Lee also sent those messages to ChatGPT a full day before law enforcement were even called. And that could be incredibly damning for Lee as this case plays out. Now, prosecutors say, according to WTVC television, that there was blood in multiple rooms of this house. Now, these are pictures of the crime scene shown in court. In the blue you see there is where law enforcement say blood was found on the floor, on the walls. Court documents show that Gabriella had multiple stab wounds and bruising on her head and her eyes. Blood was found on the toilet in several rooms. Blood was found in Lee's BMW.
What do you mean on the toilet in several rooms?
Blood was found in the kitchen.
Or does he mean like it was found in several rooms?
Allegedly. So let's get to these chat GPT messages, because you can see here, just based off of the forensic evidence that prosecutors say they have, Lee's story of allegedly falling through a glass shower door, that doesn't seem to add up at this point. And then there's what he did the day before on ChatGPT that the prosecution presented this week. Now, prosecutors argue that Lee used the chatbot as a legal advisor to allegedly cover up a crime scene and to know what to say to law enforcement.
That's what I was thinking too. Right? If he was basically thinking like, okay, if I talk to ChatGPT, they'll tell me what to say, what not to say. I was really thinking of it more of like what he was saying would make sense. So if he told her, okay, if he told the police, oh, well, she ran and fell down the steps. If he told the police officer that, what would the police officer say, and will it make sense? And then what he would have to do to make it look like that's what happened. You know what I'm saying? So if he did say that she fell on the steps, he'll have like blood around the steps, you know, etc. You know what I'm saying? So I thought of it more of like he was trying to find a way to see if it'll make sense. Or I guess since now he's using it to like basically make something up to make it seem realistic.
One of those messages reportedly read, quote, "Don't know what to do right now. Fiance did her crazy thing again, and now she's messed up. I wake up and she has 2 swollen eyes. I didn't do anything, self-inflicted. She stabbed herself, slit her eye, IDK, but she isn't waking up or responding. What do I do?" Now, even though as you read that, Lee is trying to argue that Gabriella did these injuries to herself, it's important to remember that he sent this, according to prosecutors, a full day before he called 911. Now, prosecutors say that ChatGPT actually responded by reportedly saying, quote, "Here's what to say without framing it as police trouble." Now, Lee is facing a charge of first-degree murder. He is being held with...
I thought like certain things AI couldn't respond to. Like if you ask them certain questions, they can't like answer it. But I guess
without
not.
bond in Tennessee. Gabriella's family filed a $50 million wrongful death lawsuit against Lee. And that suit,
50 million is like, that's 40 million that he made in the NFL, and he's not gonna have his freedom. Like, is that how that works? Like, because how will he, if he already loses his freedom, how will he get sued? You feel me? I don't understand how that works.
Reads that Gabriella sustained, quote, severe bodily injuries, including but not limited to blunt force trauma to the head, resulting in severe brain injury, a fractured cervical spine/neck, multiple puncture and stab wound to the chest, abdomen, and leg, extensive abrasions and bruising to the left side of her face.
I've never even heard of this type of stuff, bro.
Human bite marks found on the descendant's body, consistent with a violent physical struggle and intentional assault. The judge, after this probable cause hearing, found that there is probable cause for this case to move forward, and it is now reportedly headed to a grand jury. Joining us now to talk more about this case and where it could go from here is Rich Schoenstein, trial attorney. Thank you, as always, for being with us here on Law and Crime. You know, ChatGPT is a new tool for a lot of people. I know we often talk about text messages in cases like this, but you're actually seeing, according to prosecutors, a defendant having reached out to ChatGPT asking what to do in this situation. What did you make of that development in this case?
Well, it's interesting. You know, we've seen now for a number of years critical evidence in electronic form. And in a lot of these cases, we hear about text messaging, we hear about emails, and we hear about internet searches, because we have cases where suspects, you know, searched on the internet how to clean up after a dead body, right? Or something like that. And so this to me is just that, but with the new technology. He didn't allegedly do an internet search. He allegedly asked ChatGPT a question.
And you look at it too, and it's, you know, what he searched, from what we understand, it's not where he admitted guilt, but then similarly to text messages and some of the other data you can get from a phone or a computer, he was asking these questions a day before he calls 911. When you look at how strong the evidence may be,
if it looks like I'm crying, bro, it's because like my eyes are just watering because my allergies.
Against him in this case, just that fact alone, even if he's not, you know, it's not the forensic evidence part of it, but just there's clearly something amiss with the timeline he was giving law enforcement and what ChatGPT is saying. What do you make of that part of it as prosecutors are building their case against Aaron Lee?
Well, I think it's very helpful for the prosecution. It first of all, it contradicts directly the story that he told the authorities when they came. It shakes up the timeline, and it contradicts what he told law enforcement. So that's a problem. And it shows planning, and it shows potential consciousness of guilt. It is very damning evidence, is what it is. You know, the rest of the evidence has to come in. Prosecutors have to present their entire case, but asking AI questions about this is a bad look for sure.
Without a doubt. And this is not his first run-in.
I wonder if they think of it as like him showing some remorse to kind of, because he showed that he actually cared, but he just didn't know how to tell them, you know?
The legal system.
Maybe he just wanted to find the actual realistic reason for what to say so it didn't look like he did it on purpose.
Facing domestic violence charges in Ohio in 2023. Prosecutors say that he was still on probation for another assault case out of Florida. He had an incident in New York in 2017 when he was on the Jets. So this is someone who has faced allegations and also has pleaded guilty to domestic violence in the past. How much of that could be brought in if this goes to trial? As you know, if prosecutors want to paint him as someone who has been violent in the past, there is evidence on the record.
I just don't know, bro. Like, why do y'all get this far in your career in the NFL and actually be able to pursue your dreams just to throw it all away? Like, there's so many people out there that probably can't be in the NFL anymore, or can't be in NBA or whatever dream that they want. They can't do it no more. And there's people literally that are there that just throw it all away just because. You know,
pleaded guilty to it of assaulting a woman in previous cases.
Well,
And
that
it's
will
like your
set
family
up
now
a
has to deal with that too.
classic battle of prior bad acts where the prosecutors want to put in similar conduct or related conduct that allegedly happened previously. And the defense will argue that that's not admissible because it's very prejudicial at trial and it's not probative of the question of whether he killed this particular person on this particular date. None of those other incidents were him killing somebody. It doesn't go to showing an MO. It's merely intended to show that he had violent tendencies, which I think the defense will contend is not a sufficient reason to put it into evidence. So we're going to have to get into more details about what exactly those acts were, what the circumstances were, what the status of any allegations were in those situations. But that's going to be a pretrial evidentiary battle if this case goes to trial.
You talk
I'm gonna
about
be
some of
honest. He's saying so many big words. I don't really understand what he's saying, bro. I'm gonna
the
be honest.
battle with the evidence. I mean, on the Chat GPT front of
I
it,
just
that
don't know
seems
whenever
like
he
if a
talks.
jury
You know.
hears that and they read the messages that were shown in this probable cause hearing, that could be, very, very bad for Darren Lee and his defense. What can a defense attorney do with something like ChatGPT to try to get that excluded in a way that we do see sometimes? Maybe it's a text message, maybe it's an internet search that a defense attorney tries to get
And I
out
just
of
kind
the
of want
way.
to know
How
this though.
difficult
Like,
is it
how
to
did they?
actually
Yeah,
get that
I just kind
thrown
of like
out
want
in
to know
cases
this.
like this?
I don't really
So you
see a
think they
path to
can?
getting that evidence thrown out. That is the defendant's communication about the circumstances of this
And he won a
person's
Super Bowl too, bro.
death
And he just threw it
on
all
a
away.
computer. I don't think that evidence is coming out. It's not privileged. It's not protected in any way that I can think about, as long as they can establish, I guess they have to establish authenticity. They have to prove that they've pulled this off of a computer and it really is him, and they can show that it really was him. That would be the challenge. But if they can get over that hurdle with a computer expert, which I assume they can, then I don't see any way to keep that evidence out.
Look at Darren Lee. He played linebacker. That can be like a car crash, whether it's college or the pros, multiple times a game over and over. The public is well aware of what CTE is. I don't think that's been
You
brought.
know what's crazy too? I was just about to say that. Like, honestly, bro, I feel like with certain positions on the field, um, like I said, it's mentally. Like, and that's why I say mental health is important too. Because I feel like if he had like the opportunity to be in Ohio State, have a great game, make it to the NFL, make $10 million, make it championships, I feel like his mental health probably wasn't the best. After this, like he probably didn't like probably got cut, whatever. Didn't have enough money to. Well, he had enough money, but he's ended up getting cut. Had so many females that wanted him, and he just ended up picking one. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like me. I personally feel like it is mental health, but I feel like CTE could also take a lot of a toll on your life, especially because you'll never know until afterwards. But I feel like if he had all those charges before, they should have did something then. Like, because I know that some people like if you get like you do a crime, they give you less time, but they give you like therapy or whatever, or like not therapy, but like you get put in an asylum or something, and you have to like do a certain amount of hours in there. I feel like that's what they should have did. If he got those many, because even when he was on the Jets, he had the domestic violence thing. And I'm not trying to be funny, but the Jets, they're not the best team, so he probably was stressed from that. You know what I'm saying? Not really winning that much, and then probably coming home, he losing. He probably had a short temper, end up getting mad at his wife a lot, and then end up doing what he did, or not wife, but whoever he was with, and end up doing what he did. You know what I'm saying? So it could also be a mental health thing, but like I said, I mean, with CTE, you won't know until they pass away. So maybe they should just did some type of, examination on his body.
In at this point, but I could see the defense maybe bringing that argument up if they can prove it. I mean, to present a medical condition, if the evidence is that damning and it's maybe not a whodunit type case, I guess what's the path forward if they believe that that's something that can be presented, that they would have to go through, that a jury could actually hear that?
Well, you're talking now about like an insanity defense, and state laws vary on that. But to sort of cut to the core of it, the insanity defense is that they have a mental defect that precludes them from knowing really right from wrong, or for knowing that the actions they were taking were wrongful. And I,
Yeah, I think he does.
my understanding is, I guess CBT could lead to that in certain circumstances, but again, you would need very good expert testimony to get to that stage, to be able to make a proffer evidentiary of that, that the court would
Bro,
allow
this
you
thing is
to
using
put
too
that
many big
defense in
words,
front of the
though.
jury.
Like he
I
can't
haven't
just give
heard
it
that
to the
they're going to
point, bro.
do that. I think so
Niggas just
far
saying words,
the
bro.
defense is not
I didn't even know these words were
conceding
things like
that he
real.
is the person that did this crime or that it was a crime. Right? I mean, his story is that she somehow inflicted it herself, or this just happened. So you have to get over that hump and
I
then
don't know
have
though,
the
because for
defense
him to
say,
say that she did it to herself, and then before he called the police, all 24 hours he talked to ChatGPT.
you know, we're going to put on this insanity defense, and then I don't know if they would have enough to support that in this case.
And I do know that CTE, you can't really prove someone has it until they've passed away and their brain can be examined. When it comes to
But
just
honestly, in my opinion, I feel like as technology increases and shit, I say by probably about 20, it's 2026 right now. I say like 2030, 2032-ish, they'll probably be able to like find a way to like examine that, like to see if you have CTE. Like they'll be able to examine your brain. So they'll probably like, put you to sleep, put you on a machine, and then they can examine your brain while you sleep. You know what I'm saying? Or and in that way you'll be able to know if they have CTE, if they have like brain or like not brain loss, but like blood loss in their brain, stuff like that, that type of stuff. You'll be able to tell by that machine.
a figure,
But I don't know.
this is someone who had every opportunity in the world. I think the public could look and see he was, his first contract was 4 years for $10 million. That's more money than most people see in a lifetime. In
I mean, yeah, compared to other people, it's not that much, but that is a lot
some
of
of
money, especially at the
these
time
cases,
that he was
when there
in
is
the NFL.
strong evidence facing a defendant, how much does the
But
story of the
fact
person
that people don't reach that much money in a hold on. The fact that people don't reach that much money in a lifetime is crazy.
and maybe even building up some sort of sympathetic figure in a defendant actually matter when it comes to murder cases like this?
Well, I think if you're on the defense, you want to do some of that if this case goes to trial, because you want
to. Bro, I ain't gonna lie. Damn. Hold on. Yeah, bro. Things are sick and shit. And I ain't gonna lie, pollen is taking over
do
my
some
life.
of that if this case goes to trial.
Actually matter when it comes even building up some sort of sympathetic figure in a defendant actually matter when it comes to murder cases like this?
Well, I think if you're on the defense, you want to do some of that if this case goes to trial, because he's a professional football player. Yeah. So the assumption by the jury is going to be that he has violent tendencies, because football is a game of violence, right? I don't mean that disparagingly. I watch football. Sometimes I sort of grit my teeth and say, should I really be watching this? But I do, right? It is a game of violence, and the people who play it, and he played linebacker, that is somebody who hits people for a living violently and tries to put them to the ground. So telling a more...
I don't know, and I think about it, bro, like, that's crazy, like, to think about. Like, linebackers, D linemen, maybe some receivers, honestly, just any defensive player. Like, just knowing how their size is in the NFL, like, them being with a female, if they have anger issues or, like, CTE or anything like that, how they could be so aggressive. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine how aggressive imagine like or I ain't gonna put no specific person out there, but somebody with like a big linebacker build, and they just so angry. You know what I'm saying about something, and they angry about that towards a female that is like, probably like say that the person is like 300 pounds, 6'7", 6'8", and then the wife is like you know, 5'7", like 120 or like 130. You know, it's like imagine how much like anger that he can get and what he can do with that. You feel me?
Complicated story about his background, his upbringing, trying to establish his person would be a good move by the defense to try to bolster his case.
And of course, he is just accused of this terrible murder. The defense has not given up that he is the one who did this. You know, as we were saying, his side of the story is that he woke up, he doesn't really know what happened, and she was just in this condition. On the other hand, you have the prosecution. They have not said whether or not they're going to go for the death penalty in this case, but Tennessee's a death penalty state. Like at this point, long away from a potential trial, what type of jockeying is happening behind the scenes between the defense and the prosecution, where I could see the prosecution, they certainly have leverage of saying, well, you know,
and it's like,
the death,
too, bro, even if he doesn't get like charged with this, like, feel me? Like, even if he gets out or whatever, so like not self-defense, but like insanity, whatever, he's still gonna have to pay that money, that 50 mil. Or like, well, he may not have to, but he might have to. You know what I'm trying to say? So he may, like, if he loses it, he's gonna have to pay that money. So even if he does walk free eventually, he's still gonna have to pay that money if he loses. You feel me?
penalty is a card that they have. But then at the same end, you have the defense still arguing potentially that he's not the person who did this.
Yeah, I would see. I would gather there would have to be some kind of negotiation at some point. I mean, this does seem to me like a case where the prosecution might take death off the table if they can get a guilty plea. It is a
Damn.
it is a sort of in the crime
So
of
basically, if he
passion
admits it, he could
category,
possibly take-
although there's an argument that he has violent
What's it called?
tendencies. But this is not.
They don't say
It's
it.
hard to get to the death penalty in a single victim case like this, especially when the defendant knows the victim. I mean, there are still people on juries in this country who really don't think it's a crime to hit your wife. I mean, that's just, unfortunately, I think, a fact that you have to consider when you're prosecuting these cases. So I would think they would have some sort of negotiation about it. But if he is claiming, if he is glued to this argument that he's not the guy, that he didn't do it at all, I don't know how far that negotiation gets.
When it comes to the civil side of this, Gabriella Perpetuo's family, they have filed a $50 million wrongful death lawsuit. I don't know what Darren Lee's financial situation is.
That's
He
what
hasn't
I'm
played in
saying,
5
bro.
years.
Ain't
Certainly
no
made a
damn
lot of money.
way. But I ain't gonna say he don't, like, I don't know what this man has. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna tell you what he has on this. I don't really care what he has. But I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. To go from 10 million to 50 and you weren't even doing anything? But I don't know. I mean, the NFL, they probably give you all these different type of things. I mean, like I said, he probably got social medias and stuff, so you know, he might get money off that, may get money off clothing brand, or not clothing brands, but his jerseys. I actually kind of thought about that. Like, do you get money from your jerseys? Like, if people buy your jerseys, does it go to you or your team? I think it goes to your team, right? So he probably doesn't. I mean, I don't really know if anybody bought his jersey. I don't know. But like I said, bro, like, I don't know if he got 50 million, bro. But I mean, maybe his family does. I don't know. But shit, if he was out of the league for this long and he wasn't working for 5 years, but then again, you also think about it like this: if he was able to get out the NFL and still not work for 5 years, he has to have some type of money, because you feel like he'll probably get into some type of job eventually if he feels like he doesn't have enough. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
In the pros, in these types of cases where the criminal side of it hasn't played out yet,
though?
how do you, as an attorney, kind of quantify what the wrongful death number is that a family is going for in
I don't
cases
believe
like
they'll
this?
get that much. I'm
Well, I'm not surprised to see a $50 million number on
I'm not
it.
surprised.
It's the death of a young person.
I mean, yeah, I'm not going to
Arguably,
say that she's not worth 50 million, but I just don't feel like they're going to give her that. They give the family that much. I'm just going to be honest with you. But I mean, like I said, I mean, I don't really think 50 million is enough, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like, nothing is enough for a life. You feel me? But at least her family will be taken care of. You know, they could buy the funeral expenses and stuff. But I don't know. I mean, like
violently, and obviously you have a potentially
I just don't feel
wealthy
like they'll probably do that much.
defendant.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
I don't
Yeah, that's true too. So I feel like if he wasn't as wealthy, they wouldn't say that much.
know any better than you do about what his
But
wealth
then
is.
again, they might use this right here since he's wealthy. They might use that much money so that way he won't have enough if he was to get out. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll take so much of his money that he won't even have. So even if he does, say for example, he has 160 million, right? Take 50 out of that, he's 110. But now he has to pay, possibly his bail, possibly has to pay, his house, his car, you know what I'm saying, all this type of stuff. And now he's down to like, 50 mil, and then say, he gets sued for something else, then he has to drop 25 mil on that. Now he only has 25, So it's like, it really just depending on like, how much he's really had.
My understanding is these football players have a long line of people who are getting paid out of their salary over the years. And my understanding is some of them don't do a very good job of keeping the money, and some of them do an excellent job of keeping the money. And that the league has done better over the years about educating their players to keep the money. So I don't know if he has money or not. If it's an intentional, if he murdered her, there's no insurance, right? There's no insurance that would cover that. There's nobody else. I don't really see any path to having a lawsuit against the league or a lawsuit against the team. You would sometimes consider that if you had a violent act committed by a current player, but he's a retired player. So
you could sue a team? But I'm not going to search that up, bro. But I didn't know that that's the thing. Like, I didn't know if somebody catches a murder on your team, you could sue the team. I think it wouldn't even be really suing the team. You really just want to get money at that point. Because I don't think you could really, like, what did the team, like, the team, I don't feel like the team has anything to do. I would say you have to sue, like, the high school at that point. Because, like, the high school is what developed them, high school and college. That's what developed them to get to the NFL, So I feel like you'll probably have to sue the college, possibly, that he went to. Or wherever he was the most aggressive leading up to the NFL. But I don't see how you could sue somebody's team for them catching them. I don't know how that works. Because then it's like, how, like, what? I don't. Because then what if he gets drafted? Like, what if he played for multiple teams? Then how are you gonna sue? Are you gonna sue multiple teams? And if he only played for one team, then it's like, I don't know. I just don't see why you would sue.
They're going to put a high tag on it.
Or the league, too. Well, I would say the league is actually more realistic. I would say you should sue the league more than the team. Because I feel like the league does allow a lot of things that are negative, or not negative, but allows a lot of powerful things in the league that will turn someone to violent. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like CTE. Like, certain hits you can do can cause you to end up getting CTE, and that could make you more aggressive or whatever. I don't know how CTE works, but I know it just like has a bad toll on your brain. Or like maybe, certain drills that you may do may make you more aggressive. You know what I'm saying? Like board drills and scrimmages drill. Well, not scrimmages, but like inside drill, if y'all know what that is. Stuff like that. Same thing with the what's it called drill that they banned. I forgot what it's called. But the drill where you lay down and board drill, I think. Something like that. But yeah, I would say suing the league is probably more realistic because the league allows certain things. And because the league is the reason why he's as aggressive as he is. But I would say the college and the league, not the team.
And the case will be frozen for the most part while the criminal case plays out, because he doesn't have to testify in the civil case while he has criminal charges pending against him. He has a Fifth Amendment right. And usually what happens is the civil cases wait. They get filed and they just wait until the criminal case is done.
Now, what's the Fifth Amendment? What is the Fifth Amendment? I ain't gonna lie, Siri. It's so tough.
So there's a lot of questions there.
It's so tough.
The first one being, what kind of money is he actually worth? And then you can kind of figure out what would that settlement negotiation look like.
And then just lastly, I mean, I remember when Darren Lee was a player in college, remember, very brief stint in the pros. And it's just in some of these cases, it's not the first time that we've seen player who seem to have the entire world in the palm of their hand, the opportunity to not have to worry about money ever again.
Damn, that's so crazy to think. Like, you can really work your butt off every single day, make it to the NFL, and you never have to worry about money ever again. Even if you don't get drafted, you feel me? Even if you're a walk on, whatever. As long as you sign with a team, you could literally never have to worry about money ever again. I mean, people really throw that away. Personally, like me, if I was in the NFL, bro, I would get me my family a house. You know what I'm saying? I'll make sure everybody in my family's taken care of. All my family has a house. They have enough money. Probably, like, say, for example, I get 60 mil. I'll put at least about 40 mil just to my family. You feel me? Even it out so that every single family member I have is at least 2 to 3 mil, and they could go about how they choose. You know what I'm saying? Then if I have kids, I'll make sure they're taken care of. They'll get everything they need, mind you, not want. They'll get everything they need, so that they're not spoiled and they're not brats. And then I have one girl. You know what I'm saying? She'll probably be with me from either high school to we get married, or from college till we get married, or like, you know what I'm saying, or either that, or if I go through a lot in the NFL, like I don't get drafted or whatever, she'll be there until I do. Feel me? So I know she's not a gold digger or whatever. But I'd rather, honestly, at least college. Like high school, I don't really believe in relationships. In high school, I feel like it's real rare to have a high school relationship. But college, I feel like that's when, you know what I'm saying, if you can get a relationship in college, honestly, I feel like high school is easier to get in my opinion, I feel like high school is easier to get a long lasting relationship than college. Because I feel like college, the only mindset is just, well, I mean, same thing with high school. I feel like it's really sex and parties. That's it. But I feel like college is mainly like, okay, I'm free now. I can do whatever I want. And college, you have to remember you don't have to go to. So you can pretty much go to college and do whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't want to be there no more, you can leave. So high school, you have to do. And I feel like a lot of times, since we're like in this generation, especially like we got sports, stuff like that, band, all that, you can't necessarily be in high school and have a job and like see a female and do your work. You know, it's like you can't do all that, you know, in one. So I just feel like with that, I feel like the best thing to do is like, yeah, like I said, just make sure your family taken care of, get you a house. Now, the only thing that's bad about that is you might have to get, like, if you get traded, you have to leave that whole place. So if you end up, say for example, you from New Jersey and you end up going to the Eagles. Well, okay, all your family's in this one spot, but now say the Eagles don't want you no more, you get traded all the way to the 49ers. Now you got to fly all the way across the country and go to the 49ers. You know what I'm saying? And then now you miss all your family, all that. But I don't know. I just feel like having that much money. Yeah, so do that. Then I'll invest my money, and then I'll also probably like, do content with my fans, stuff like that. Get my PR up. Low key be a YouTuber on the side too, kind of like with I know some NFL players that do. I don't know. Even if I'm not a content creator, I'll just like be on the game when I can. Um, and then also like just probably see if I can be in like because you'll be in Madden, so you could do that. Try and maybe keep contact with the Madden play like the Madden like creators of the game, so you could talk to them a lot. But I don't know. I just feel like having that much money, bro, like and never having to worry about money ever again. Like I feel like a lot of people take it for granted, but it's their ego. I feel like if ego and mental health was higher, like if you had to get therapy, like if they made a new thing where you have to literally get therapy to even be on an NFL team, and you have to actually like pass the tests and all that in there, I feel like there wouldn't be as many people doing this type of stuff. In my
And then
opinion.
they're accused in these horrific crimes. Just what stands out to you in cases like this? Just kind of the humanity of it all, that someone loses their life, but then you have a
Also,
defendant that
why did they?
typically
So
doesn't
this
fit the
wasn't the actual.
profile of what we
Well,
typically
this
see in
isn't
murder
the
cases of
direct.
someone who comes
Like, it's
from
not
money,
brutality.
someone who has all
It
this
looked like.
opportunity and seems allegedly to have thrown it all away.
Yeah, I don't
But
know.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
don't know.
we have plenty of
I
murder
thought they just take that shit for
cases
granted. Honestly, in my opinion,
where there
they
are
take where that for
defendants
granted.
who you can't understand why they would put themselves in their position. I mean, Alec Murdaugh, right? That's a big murder case. That guy's not a football player, but he
I don't
was a
even know
very
what it is.
wealthy, successful lawyer. He's accused of killing
Lawyer
his wife and son. Nick
and son.
Reiner, I understand there may be mental illness issues there, but that's
But yeah,
someone
that's
who
why I just feel like
seemingly
you got to get mental health.
would have had every opportunity. Uh, so this plays out over and over and over again, and I know we see a lot of violence out of football players, and I don't know because I've never sat down to do the
And it's
math
like
as
crazy too. Like think about if you think this is dangerous. Think about like MMA fighters and stuff. How that they could be very like aggressive and stuff like that. And like who else? I mean, I feel like hockey players kind of too, but I feel like football is really like the most like besides like actual fighting sports. I feel like football's probably the most dangerous. Well, not dangerous, but like the most aggressive sport. I feel
To
like.
whether that's statistically disproportionate or we're just highlighting those cases because they're famous cases. But the bottom line is murder and other crimes are committed often by people you cannot understand why they would do that. And if Darren Lee did what he's accused of
Honestly, anybody
doing, I
though
don't understand how any person under any circumstances
would do that.
could have
Exactly.
done that.
Exactly.
It's beyond comprehension, and it's a question for a
That is
jury.
it. Just make you more
And,
special.
and we'll see how it plays out. Another case I think of course, Aaron Hernandez,
I knew he was gonna say
and
that.
how that played out, in the NFL as well. Just a very, very sad case. This woman, 29 years old, losing her life. Darren Lee being held without bond. We'll see what happens next. Rich Schoenstein, trial attorney. Always great to have you on Law and Crime. Thanks for being here.
Glad to be here.
All
Take
right.
care.
That was
We definitely get a prayer in, but let me see the comments a little bit. See what they're thinking. I think ChatGPT is a genie. Be great if ChatGPT came back. We'll have all the cops. Yeah, sir. Accessory to your crime is next level. Next to dumbassery. You should have played along and have some type of just to that it can analyze with the answer. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, my nigga. It's an AI that hurt. I don't think that's how that works, bro. They're not gonna know all that, bro. They're just programmed to tell you to answer. He will be using ChatGPT for anything. Yeah, I don't know how serious. I don't know if this is like true or not. But that's kind of crazy. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. What is this guy talking about? Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about. All right, well, let's go ahead and pray, man. Get this prayer in. Wait, what's her name again? Let me make sure I get her name right. All right, Gabriella. All right, let's pray, man. Lord, just watch over Gabriella's family. Hope them be able to recover from this. And if the time is right, and if this is true, help them be able to get some type of settlement for this, so they can, set up, so you can set up their family. Just help them be able to, you know, learn from this. Hope everybody around here, everybody that's watching, learn from this. Help the NFL be more strict on mental health. So if it was a mental health thing, to help them with that, and same thing with, you know, God, help you be able to be more of an influence to these people and what they do. Help them be able to not let ego get to their best of them and make them feel like they, are better than anybody else, so that they could get away with a lot of other things too. Because they may also play a factor a lot. For like maybe some people think they can get away with other things because they have a name for themselves, but help them make everybody make good decisions. Help everybody keep chasing their dreams. For me, YouTube and social media, but everybody watching them to be able to chase their dreams and help Gabriella's family, or Gabriella, sorry, have you know settlement and finally get their justice if this is true. Um, but even regardless if it is or not, but we love you, Lord. We're nothing without you. We just want to give you all the glory and Jesus' name. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen. I love y'all, man. Jesus loves y'all. Prayers to our family. Um, y'all stay safe out here, make good decisions, man. Peace out, man. I love y'all.